History isn't just what's recorded, it's also what's hidden. Deep in government archives lie stories of secret wars and experiments that crossed every moral line. Project MKUltra is one of the darkest of these chapters, a war fought not with weapons, but in the human mind. Born from Cold War paranoia, MKUltra grew in the shadows, fueled by fear of losing control over people's thoughts and loyalties. This program is a stark reminder that official narratives often conceal unsettling truths. It forces us to ask, what happens when fear justifies any means and secrecy overrides human rights? MKUltra's legacy is a permanent scar, a warning of what unchecked power can do behind closed doors. This is a story that must be told, because its lessons are too important to forget. The Cold War was more than a battle of armies or nuclear arsenals. It was a global chess match played out in the shadows, where every move was calculated and every secret mattered. It was an era defined by spies lurking in the darkness, propaganda flooding the airwaves, and a constant undercurrent of paranoia that seeped into everyday life. The CIA, gripped by the fear that the Soviets had unlocked the secrets of mind control, became obsessed with the possibility of brainwashing, of turning thoughts into weapons. When American POWs returned from the Korean War making strange, robotic confessions, it sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. Was it possible the Soviets had discovered a way to bend the human mind to their will? The agency began to imagine a terrifying future, one where enemies could turn ordinary Americans into unwitting spies, saboteurs, or even assassins, all without their knowledge. Determined not to fall behind in this invisible arms race, the CIA launched a top-secret initiative to master mind control for themselves, recruiting scientists and pouring money into clandestine research. They experimented with drugs, hypnosis, and psychological techniques, searching for truth serums, amnesia drugs, and anything that could break or remake the human will, no matter how bizarre or dangerous. The battlefield had shifted from the streets of Berlin and the jungles of Vietnam to the most intimate territory of all, the human psyche. This relentless quest for a psychological superweapon would lead the CIA down a dark and deeply unethical path, raising questions that would haunt America for decades. The Cold War of the Mind had begun, a secret war fought in laboratories and interrogation rooms, where the CIA was determined to win, no matter the cost. What followed would not only test the limits of science, but challenge the very ideals America claimed to defend, leaving a legacy of controversy and unanswered questions. Officially, MKUltra was described as a defensive project, one born out of the anxieties of the Cold War era. The stated goal was to understand and counteract enemy mind control, a threat that seemed both urgent and mysterious. The CIA insisted it was acting to protect national security, racing to stay ahead of foreign adversaries. Scientists were tasked with studying drugs, hypnosis, and psychological methods, all in the name of shielding Americans from the specter of brainwashing. On the surface, the program sounded logical, a prudent response to a dangerous and unpredictable world where threats seemed to lurk everywhere. But beneath this official narrative, the program's foundation was built on fear, not on solid evidence or scientific fact. There was no credible proof that the Soviets or Chinese had developed mind control weapons. The threat was more rumor than reality. In truth, the CIA was chasing a phantom, driven by paranoia and worst-case scenarios. The confessions of prisoners of war, which sparked so much fear, were almost certainly the result of torture and coercion, not science fiction mind control. With no real enemy technology to study, MKUltra's mission quietly shifted from defense to offense. The CIA began trying to invent the very techniques it claimed to fear, pushing the boundaries of ethics and science. The fear of what the enemy might do became a justification to do it first, regardless of the consequences. This transformation happened in total secrecy, without oversight, public knowledge, or meaningful debate. The result was a program corrupted by paranoia and unchecked ambition, setting the stage for some of the most disturbing and horrific abuses in American intelligence history. MKUltra's mission soon crossed every ethical line. Led by chemist Sidney Gottlieb, the CIA began experimenting on unsuspecting people. They believed real-world mind control required testing on those who didn't consent or expect it. LSD became their primary tool, its power to shatter, reality fascinated the agency. CIA operatives secretly dosed colleagues, soldiers, and civilians, observing their reactions without consent. Safe houses in cities like New York and San Francisco became sites for these experiments, with unwitting victims lured in and drugged. The goal: see if LSD could make people reveal secrets or become more suggestible. But these weren't scientific studies, they were acts of psychological torture. MKUltra also explored hypnosis, sensory deprivation, electroshock, and a cocktail of other drugs. With almost no oversight, the program's cruelty escalated. The CIA wasn't just breaking rules, it was breaking people. MKUltra's recklessness led to a devastating tragedy in 1953, one that would haunt the agency for decades and leave a family searching for answers. Frank Olson, a respected Army scientist specializing in biological warfare, became an unwitting test subject when Sidney Gottlieb, the head of MKUltra, secretly laced his drink with LSD during a CIA retreat in the woods. The effects were immediate and severe. Olson suffered a profound psychological crisis, plagued by paranoia, confusion, and overwhelming fear. He became convinced he was being watched and could no longer trust his colleagues. Instead of offering genuine help, the CIA tried to contain the situation, sending Olson to a psychiatrist who, unbeknownst to him, was also a CIA contractor. The agency's priority was secrecy, not Olson's well-being. Olson was treated as a security risk, not a patient. He was watched closely, his every move monitored, as the agency feared he might reveal classified information. 9 days after being drugged, Olson fell to his death from a hotel window in New York City. The circumstances were suspicious, and questions lingered about what really happened that night. The official story was suicide. But the truth was hidden from his family for decades. They were left with only fragments of the real story, forced to grieve in the shadow of government secrecy. Olson's death was the first undeniable sign that MKUltra had crossed a fatal line, sacrificing its own in the name of secrecy and experimentation. It exposed the program's utter disregard for human life. Even its own people were expendable if they threatened the project's secrecy. For years, the real story remained buried in classified files and confidential reports, hidden from public view. Olson's tragedy became a symbol of MKUltra's darkest excesses, a rallying point for those demanding accountability and truth. It was a warning about unchecked power and secrecy, a warning that tragically went unheeded for years to come. Frank Olson's death should have ended MKUltra. The CIA's own Inspector General called the program dangerous and unethical, urging it be stopped, but the agency's leaders, gripped by Cold War fear, ignored the warnings. MKUltra continued, with only a quiet warning to be more careful. The death of Olson was treated as a PR problem, not a moral catastrophe. The CIA saw itself as above the law, justifying illegal actions in the name of national security. The program expanded, refining its cruel techniques and branching into new sub-projects. Even as LSD's appeal faded, the core mission persisted. MKUltra became a self-perpetuating machine, shielded from scrutiny. Once started, it was almost impossible to stop. The program's survival, despite its dangers, revealed the momentum secret projects can build. MKUltra refused to die, no matter the cost. For nearly 2 decades, MKUltra operated in the shadows, but in the 1970s, as Watergate shattered public trust, journalists and Congress began digging into the CIA's secrets. Fearing exposure, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all MKUltra records destroyed in 1973. Boxes of documents, experiment logs, financial records, reports were systematically incinerated. This illegal act was a desperate attempt to erase the program's crimes. For a time, it seemed to work. Investigators were told the records no longer existed, but a bureaucratic error saved about 20,000 pages of financial documents. These surviving files, though incomplete, offered the first concrete proof of MKUltra's vast and illegal operations. Expense reports for safe houses, payments to doctors, requisitions for drugs, enough to ignite public outrage. The bonfire failed to consume everything. The embers that survived would soon spark a firestorm. The truth was about to come out. The discovery of MKUltra's surviving documents in the mid-1970s shocked the nation. The New York Times exposed the CIA's secret drug experiments on American citizens. The public, already reeling from Watergate and Vietnam, faced another betrayal. Congress launched high-profile investigations, most famously, the Church Committee. For the first time, CIA officials testified under oath about LSD experiments, secret safehouses, and Frank Olson's death. The hearings, broadcast nationwide, revealed a program that was both unethical and ineffective. After 2 decades and millions spent, MKUltra produced no reliable mind control techniques, just shattered lives. The harm done for nothing deepened public anger. Trust in government collapsed. The CIA's reputation was permanently stained. New laws and oversight followed, but the damage was done. MKUltra became a symbol of government overreach and secrecy gone mad. Its legacy, a deep, lasting suspicion of authority. MKUltra is more than a dark Cold War footnote. It's a chilling lesson about unchecked power and secrecy. The program shows how fear can drive institutions to monstrous acts, reducing people to test subjects in the name of security. MKUltra operated for decades because it was hidden from oversight. Only public scrutiny ended it. Its legacy warns us to be skeptical when leaders invoke vague threats to erode rights and ethics. Power without oversight will always be abused. Today, as new threats emerge, MKUltra's shadow reminds us to question what's done in our name. The story is a permanent warning. Liberty demands vigilance, not just against enemies, but against the darkness within our own institutions. The war for the mind may be over, but the struggle for accountability never ends.